Hey everyone, welcome back to our channel. And in this video, we will be analyzing the March-June 2024 examiner report. So my name is Ruchi Goyal and I am in the faculty of AA and AAA. So guys, let me tell you, examiner reports are most ignored report because we think that, there are not enough questions in that report and it is bit lengthy. Do we have to read it completely? But it is most important when it comes to analyzing the common mistakes that are done by other students, and it is coming straight from examiner. So he will be pointing out certain mistakes that you don't have to do same mistake in your paper. This is how we awarded half marks, this is how we awarded one full marks, and these are the common mistakes that you need to avoid. So in today's video, we will be focusing on AA. We will be focusing on the latest report that is available in ACCA Global website. Now, what would be the overview? First of all, examiner report has certain general comments that we will be dealing with. Then coming on to question by question, we will be going through audit risk, substantive procedure, quality management, test of control, important questions, and auditor report. So actually, examiner also suggests you certain important questions that you should do in order to practice those similar kind of questions. So I have covered those questions for you as well. In this particular part, which is going to be part 1, we will be covering question number 1 in detail. Question number 1 is of 30 marks, which will have audit risk as one of the requirements. And I will be telling you what are the common mistakes, how do we write the answer. It also has 4 mark substantive procedure, other topics such as quality management as well. So make sure that you watch this part till end and analyze. Analyze what am I saying, what are the common mistakes that are done by everyone, and make a note of it. While you are watching this video, make sure that you have a small notebook with you so that you know that while I am writing the risk question, I have to, tick all these checklist. Fine. Coming on to the general comments, first of all, when it comes to the general comments, I guess this is the extreme time that we know the structure of the paper, but still examiner has told us one more time that there would be 2 sections in AA paper which will be for 30 marks and which will be for 70 marks. For 30 marks, we will be having 3 objective case question where you will be getting 5 MCQs for 1 question. So 5 MCQ, 1 MCQ of 2 marks, 10 and making it 3 questions. Fine. When it comes to the 70 marks, we will be having again 3 questions, 30, 20, 20. Fine. So this would be the marks distribution when it comes to AA paper. Now, the examiner has told us very, very, very important thing. And this is one of the comments that I keep on repeating in my live classes as well. That guys, to pass this examination, that is, in order to get 50 marks, you should ensure that you have combination of both the things. That is, you have enough knowledge and you have enough application skills. When I see AA question, there are a lot of answers where students are just writing the knowledge part. They are just writing as per this auditing, as per this auditing standards, as per this accounting standards, everything. That comes under knowledge. But ensuring the application will fetch you marks, Candidates who do not spend sufficient time practicing question are unlikely to be successful, as writing question in particular aim to test candidates' application skills. So as I have mentioned like 100 times in my class as well, that guys, it's not just knowledge that will help you to score 50 marks. It's your application skills as well, which will fetch you 50 marks. So make sure that you are not just focused on your knowledge part, you are also focusing on the application. That is, for example, you see the case, you just don't write the cramped answer, substantive procedure, and you are done. No, make sure you are relating it to the case. That is where the application skills come into picture. Now, when it comes to the section B The first question that the examiner report has discussed is the green company, which is of 30 marks. So green company has certain background. What? The company sells plants, garden equipment and garden furniture to wholesale and retail customers. So this was about company that has been mentioned in the examiner report. Now, how this 30 marks has been distributed? 16 for the audit risk. I am sure they must have given us 8 audit risk where we have to identify and where we have to write the response for it. So 1 marks for this and 1 marks for this, 16 marks. Responsibility of fraud and loss, auditor's responsibility, substantive procedure and quality management issues. So, do you see one thing that in question number 1 of section B, though the majority of marks was for the audit risk, but other topics also came with equal importance, making it 4 and 6, that was for 10 marks. So, make sure that you don't ignore any part of the syllabus in AA. It is extremely important for you to actually cover every part. If not with perfectionist, you are not at a perfectionist in it, make sure that you at least read it once so that you can at least write something about it. Fine. Now let's come to each question one by one. Question 1, A, B, C, D. I will be coming and explaining you each part in detail. In this particular part, we will be only focused on question number 1. So the most important part for this video will be your risk. Okay. Now, question number 1, as I told you, it was for 16 marks. So there were 8 audit risk and you had to write 8 response. This is very, very, very common question that we have seen in our exam kit as well. And we must have practiced 100 of questions for it. But guys, how the marks are allocated, you need to understand this. First, I hope everybody know that we write it in the tabular form, risk and response. So 1 for this and 1 for this. Now, how this 1 is distributed, the examiner has clearly told us. Half marks for the identification. Please ensure that you do not write long paras. For example, I'll give you one example. There was a student who had to identify the PP, right? There was a risk related to the PP and he copied, pasted the whole paragraph. Guys, no, please don't copy paste the whole paragraph. The copy pasting feature can be used, but you as a student has to make sure that you modify your answers according to it. You identify the risk for the examiner. You don't leave it to the examiner that, dude, I have copy pasted the whole paragraph. Now it's your duty to identify the risk. You will not get marks for the identification. Let me be very clear. Once you have identified it, the next step is to explain it. Please explain. How will you explain it? Please make sure that you are writing the impact very clearly on financial statement. Is it misstatement? Is it overstatement? Is it understatement? What was the risk? What was the risk? Was it the risk regarding the early recognition of the revenue or what? Okay. Finally, coming on to the audit response, make sure whatever the risk you are identifying, the response should be according to it. The response should be according to it. It should not be a general statement. It should not be a vague response. Fine. Coming on to the risk question, how do we start it? Before you start your answer, make sure that you plan your answer well. How do you plan it? Please, guys, I get lot of DMs that, ma'am, I was not able to complete the question because the question did not have enough risk. So examiner has clearly told us that if 8 risk was asked in the question, there will be bare minimum 10. So scenario will have definitely more number of risk than what is being actually asked for the identification. So if you are not able to identify, then you really need to brush up your skills. Fine. Now, only attempt the list of the question, the list of the requirements that has been asked. If it asks you 8 risk, make sure that you are attempting only 8. Otherwise, you will waste a lot of time in audit. You will just keep on writing the answer and you will run out of your time. Then, all of the information in the scenario should be read carefully, including the opening paragraphs. This is very, very, very important. 90% of students will not read it. They will jump directly to exhibit 1. Guys, what information is important when it comes to opening paragraph? The date will be given, the name of the client, the name of the audit firm, whether it is a new client, whether it is an old client, whether it is a listed client or whether it is a non-listed client. Then you are in which stage of your audit? Are you in your planning stage? Are you in your completion? Or which stage of audit you are in? So reading opening paragraph is very, 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 very important. Okay. Now, use the highlight function. If examiner has provided you with something good, that is a highlighter, please use it. Why? Because it will save a lot of your time. You don't have to read the whole scenario again and again. Okay. So examiner report has clearly told you these general comments, that before you jump onto the answer, before you start writing the answer, make sure you plan it well. Make sure you plan it well. Okay. Now, while identification, as I told you, identification, explanation and response, we will do one each, one by one. Let's come to the identification of the risk. What examiner has to say regarding the identification? The examiner has clearly told us candidates often use the copy and paste function when drafting their answers for the identification of the risk. Is it the problem? No, it is not the problem. The problem is that you are copy pasting the whole paragraphs and you are leaving for examiner to identify the risk from that particular paragraph. That is where the examiner has a problem for with you. That don't please identify, don't just copy paste the whole paragraph. Simply stating a fact from the scenario is not always same as identifying an audit risk. Okay, so you need to identify what is the audit risk. Fine. Knowledge of relevant accounting standard is required to fully understand the audit risk and therefore a relevant audit response. So when I actually suggest my student that please give FR before the audit paper, this is the reason. This is the reason because you need to have knowledge about accounting standards, which you will be studying in FR. So if you haven't studied FR, then how do I expect from you to understand the risk and identify it? Okay. Finally, in green company, accounting issues which give rise to audit risk include those relating to the PP, intangible assets, and provision and inventory. So in the question itself, in the green company itself, there were a lot of accounting standards related audit risk, which was your PP, intangible provision, and inventory. So of course, you need to have the knowledge of accounting standards in order to identify the risk. Now, this is the common issue, and this is the common issue that I have highlighted during my test series as well, that guys, you don't utilize the ratios. If there are two types of question, maybe in one of the part, they will tell you to calculate the ratio specifically, or even if they don't tell you, they will give you the financial statements. Fine. You have to use that data. Wherever possible, please use these ratios. Even if you have calculated or you have not calculated, doesn't matter. If you have data, please calculate the ratio. Please use it while identification of the risk. You will get marks. You will get good marks. For example, in the green company, the examiner told us that collection period increased from 40 to 67 days. Okay, so your receivable days increased from 40 to 67. This information should have been combined with the absence of credit controller. Since there was no credit controller in the company, no one was keeping track of the receivables. As a result, the receivable days are also increasing, leading to the audit risk. What audit risk? Overvaluation of receivables. Okay. So this is how the information had to be used in order to identify the risk. Now, many of the students will not use the ratios. They will try to make it a separate risk. That, ma'am, they will make a separate risk for 40 and 67 days and absence of the credit controller. Guys, these are linked. These are linked. Please, please, please. Examiner has clearly said in the report that some candidates incorrectly use this information to generate two audit risk. First of all, days, and second, the credit controller. All these risk was giving same audit risk, which was regarding the overstatement of receivable. So make sure that you identify such things. You are not trying to make fool of the examiner by dividing it into 2 points. Guys, please don't do this mistake. This is very, very, very important. Okay. Now let's come to the half marks of the left side. Half marks, we discussed identification. Now let's come to the explanation of the risk, where you need to write the impact on the financial statement. First comment is misstated. If the question is clear that this would lead to understatement and you are writing misstatement there, you will not get any marks. If the question is very much clear about the understatement and overstatement and you are not trying to analyze and you are not able to analyze and you are just writing misstatement because of the time problem or anything, you will not get any marks. The examiner has clearly said it on the face. For example, if the risk should have been described in terms of understated, there would be no credits if you write misstated. For example, when it comes to the green company, issue relating to the reimbursement of the retail stores. Okay. Now, whenever you are writing the impact, make sure you are as specific as possible. For example, if it is regarding the stores, refurnishment of the stores, then your PP would be overstated or understated. If you are writing just assets or non-current assets, you will not be getting any marks. You will be getting marks when you are specific that PP would be overstated. So if you are writing non-current liability or current liability, which? If you are writing non-current assets or current asset, which asset? So you have to be as specific as possible. Fine. Now let's come to the audit response. We have discussed 1 mark. Now let's come to the another 1 mark. 1 mark audit response, you have to be very practical. You don't have to write a vague procedure. You don't have to write a management response. Guys, this is auditor response. This is not management response. If you write such vague responses, recruit somebody, this is the part of the management. This is management responsibility. This is management response. The question was regarding the audit response. Please be clear. Simply suggesting reviewing the breakdown. Why? If you are writing half procedure, you are simply writing review the breakdown. Why? Why are you reviewing breakdown? Why? Okay, you will not get any marks. Without comparing to the something such as previous year, you will not get credits. If you are writing just 4 words procedure and you are thinking that you will get 1 full marks, sorry, you will not get it. Example. Examples are very important in examiner's report. See, for inventory risk, it was common to see perform NRV testing. Guys, not just with NRV testing, I have students writing perform cutoff testing. How? How? How the auditor would test? This was not mentioned. So if you are writing such general statements, you will be only getting half marks. But if you are writing as to why are you doing it, how you are doing it, you will get another half marks. Okay. Now I have a very, favorite thing that everybody writes: increased professional skepticism. The auditor should exercise increased professional skepticism. Let me know in the comment section how many of you actually write this. I guess everybody write it. So examiner has a comment on that as well. For the sale of shares. So what was happening in green company, the CEO was, asking for you to sale of the share by CEO. So there was a sale of shares by the CEO. Everybody wrote increased professional skepticism. You will only get half marks. Now, how will you get another half marks? Okay, how? Because see, will gain only half marks. To gain one full marks, candidate needs to focus on additional testing of judgmental areas as well as assigning more experienced staff to the auditing. So if you are writing only increase professional skepticism, half marks. But how will you write it? How will you increase the skepticism? By assigning more experienced staff. Then you will get another half marks. Okay. Please, guys, please understand that writing general or vague without a purpose audit response will not give you one full marks. Okay. Everybody, another very common issue, everybody just write discuss with the management. And as an examiner, I am thinking what you guys are trying to discuss. Why did you run to the management? Please ensure that you run to the management only for the judgmental areas. If you are running to them for the PP, for basic areas, this does not make much sense. Fine. A response to the discuss with management will not gain any credits what they are asking the management about. If you don't write what you are asking with them, you will not get. If there would have been other audit evidence available instead of discussion, you should have run after that. Okay. So just let me know if you have read chapter number 1 clearly. What do you think is more reliable? Confirming an evidence or getting an evidence from the third party such as lawyer, or discussing it with the management and internally generated evidence, of course, an external generated evidence, right? That would be much more reliable. So discussion, if you are writing what you want to discuss and in case any reliable evidence is available, go for it, okay. Now, what are the important questions that examiner has suggested you are these. So please don't run to your friends as to asking that, dude, what are the important questions? What are the important questions? Here are the important questions by examiner. So please go and practice them. Fine. Now let's come to the question number 1B. Question number 1B is of 4 marks, which is regarding the laws and regulation. This was a bilkul, I would say a straightforward question, a knowledge-based question. Okay. So you don't have to relate it too much to the case because the question clearly said it was a knowledge-based and it was a direct question. Fine. Now, where the students lost marks, a significant number of candidates incorrectly focused their answer on management responsibility. The question was regarding the responsibility of auditor. So if you are writing responsibilities for the management, you will not get any marks. That is very simple. Many provided answers focused on auditor's responsibility in relation to fraud, preconditions of the audit. Guys, the question was regarding the laws and regulation. If you are writing preconditions, then an auditor's overall obligation to provide opinion, you will not get any marks. The only conclusion that I can make from examiner report is you guys are not reading the question carefully. Please read the question carefully. Coming on to the third part of this particular requirement, which had substantive procedures. Substantive procedure, again, relating to the additions of PP. So if you are writing any procedure not relating to PP, 0 marks. If you are not writing procedure relating to additions or any other disposal, anything else, you will be getting 0 marks. So first, incomplete substantive procedure. Agree the addition to invoice. If you are writing incomplete procedure, only half marks. Why did you do that? Okay, please, why, how, what the invoice is being reviewed for. Incomplete procedure, incomplete marks, half. Any procedure that was not related to additions, 0. If you are writing general procedure such as requesting written representation, 0. Guys, written representations are for the management judgments. Please, please, please do not run for written representation every time you see, every time you are not able to think of any other audit procedures. Okay, please. Finally, coming on to the fourth question of question number 1, which is D, 3 quality management deficiency. Now, this is the common mistake, or in fact, I noticed this in the test series as well as I gave them, that this question is from the perspective of audit firm. If you are writing any deficiency which is relating to the management, you will not get any marks. 3 quality management deficiency in approach adopted by Teal Company. Teal Company is the audit firm. Guys, understand the marks distribution as well. 6 marks, 3 issues, okay? 1 for the identification and explanation, and 1 for recommendation. So this was not at all a difficult question, but you need to understand how much do I have to write and what I need to write. What was the perspective? Okay. Now, the requirement does not contain a note. It did not have any note that you don't have to relate it to the case. Please, guys, if the question does not have any note, do not assume anything. You have to relate it to the case. Okay. The requirement is clear. Deficiency adopted by Teal, not management. So see, the points that I discussed with you are actually the mistakes that are done by students. So make sure you don't make the same mistakes. Marks are avoided, half marks for identification, half for the explanation, and 1 for the recommendation. Identify and explain. Few of you will only identify, few of you will only explain. So if you don't fulfill the requirements, you are giving the chance to examiner to deduct your marks. Okay, so please don't do that. Now, this could result in the failure of misstatement. Guys, if you are writing such vague recommendation, vague explanation, that this would result in failure, okay, this would result in inappropriate audit report. This is very common. Every deficiency would ultimately lead to the incorrect audit conclusion. So if you are writing such general statements, again, half marks. Fine. In order to get 1 full marks, junior missing the audit planning meeting, this would lead to the risk of team members not understanding or identifying audit risk. So that if you would have simply said juniors missing the audit planning meeting would result in an inappropriate audit report conclusion, you would have got half marks. Then you would come and run and say, ma'am, I wrote the purpose, I wrote the explanation. No, you wrote a very general answer. The specific answer, what? If juniors did not have the audit, if juniors will not attend the audit planning meeting, they will lead to the risk of them not understanding or identifying the audit risk. Okay. The next part is regarding the recommendation. Okay. Senior and experienced auditors are required for the audit team. 0 marks. The specific issue was you should have hired a different team which have an experience of industry in which Green Company operates. Okay. So wherever you are trying to write a general procedure, the marks will be deducted. As soon as you go in the case, in depth of the case, you will get good marks. Okay. So that's it for this particular part. I will be coming in the second part where I will be discussing question number 2 of section B, which relates to the test of control, which relates to the internal control. Okay. Thank you so much for watching it till the end. Bye-bye. Take care.